What's going on YouTube? So there are few vehicles out there that can claim to be as popular as the Honda Civic, which has sold over 12.1 million units in its 10-generation lifespan. This is a vehicle that nearly every person in America has been in at some point, which is why it's such a big deal every time Honda redesigns it. And that's exactly what we are standing next to right now, the all-new Civic Sedan, which is promising to take the model to new heights with design, technology, and driving dynamics. So did they succeed in making the best Civic yet? Let's jump right into the review and find out. So starting out here with the brand new design of this next generation Civic, I think the best way to describe it is that it has a more mature and sophisticated design that kind of seems like the Civic grew up. So up here in the front is a good place to demonstrate that, because you previously had a large, really blacked out grille, looked very sporty and aggressive. This new generation goes for a much simpler, cleaner approach, mostly body colored through here, though you do have this small area here which is just a blacked out straight line trim. And then you have the trapezoidal lower fascia through here. Now moving over here to your headlights, these are also very clean and classy looking. These are actually going to be full LED across every single version of the new Civic, including your daytime running light and your turn signal indicator. Plus, if you choose this fully loaded touring model, that will also throw in LED fog lamps. Moving next to our wheel options, you do have a few choices. The very base LX is going to come standard with a 16-inch steel wheel with hubcaps. The EX trim level will come with a 17-inch alloy, and then the Sport model as well as this Touring model, those will come with 18-inch alloys, though they do have different finishes. As you can see with this Touring, we have the special shark gray finish, which looks very nice. Now as we carry on to our mirrors, you will notice that's going to be body colored on most models. It will be blacked out on the Sport model. And then as far as the technology here, on the EX trim level and above, we have heating and a brand new Civic feature, which is blind spot monitoring. As you know, that was previously not available. So that is new to the Civic, as well as a rear cross traffic alert, which will be on the Touring trim level.
So here we are at the side of the all-new Civic, and I do want to point a few things out. You have a single body line going all the way into the back, which gives it a more classy look than the previous model, and it does have more typical sedan-like proportions. And I also want to point out that they've brought the A-pillar back about 2 inches on this Civic Sedan to give it that more rear drive proportion. Coming around the back, we also have window trim on the top, not the bottom. And then working our way around to the all-new rear design with the Civic, it just has a very classy and tasteful look that was kind of missing from the previous generation model. The previous generation was a lot more sporty. This just has an elegant and tasteful look to it. Now, as far as what you're going to get for the Touring, we do have these LED taillights. They're LED accented, and then you have an LED brake light portion. However, your turn signal and reverse light are still going to be incandescent. Then if we drop down here to the lower fascia area, we're not going to have exposed exhaust outlets, but it does have a nice body color design. Now, as far as the safety systems are concerned with this all-new Civic, you are going to get all of them standard equipment, which is great news considering this vehicle's price point. So that's going to be forward emergency braking and pedestrian detection, as well as auto high beams, adaptive cruise control, and lane keeping assist. Now, additionally, if you ball out for that fully loaded Touring model, you will get automatic braking control and a new traffic jam assistant. But anyway, guys, that's wrapping up the exterior design for this all-new Civic. As you can tell, it has a more tasteful and classy approach. Now let's go ahead and check out the inside. I know there's a lot of tech in there. But before we do that, you know what would really make my day? If you hit that subscribe button down below. It's completely free to you, and you're going to get access to a lot more cool car content, so why wouldn't you hit it?
So walking up to the all-new Civic, we do have a new key fob for the Honda brand. As you can see, it's a little bit smaller and a little bit rounder. And this is the intelligent entry system. It is included on the Sport trim level and above, as well as this remote start. Now, to get inside the vehicle itself, there is a sensor behind the handle, so just grab behind it and it will unlock. right, and taking a look inside of this cabin. As you can see, we have a really large change, a total ground up redesign. All the elements in here are totally new and definitely has a very clean and sophisticated look to it that reminds me a bit of the Accord. Now we'll go ahead and talk about your interior color and material options to start out with. So you're going to have a cloth seat on your LX trim through the EX trim level, and then when you get this top end touring model, that's where you'll get the leather seat. Our touring model is available with black leather or a gray option as well. Now turning over here to your door trim, you'll see these same very nice materials reflected up here. So we have a leather covered armrest with the double color contrast stitching as well as leather above it. The top part is going to be soft touch. We do have a nice piano black accent, a metallic finished door handle, and then we also have some faux carbon fiber that runs around the window switches, which are one touch auto up and down for the driver and the passenger. Taking a look over here at the adjustments for the seats, they are going to be 8-way power adjusting on this model. The lower trims will be 6-way manual. We do not have a power lumbar, however. And then, like I was mentioning, we have a real leather seat. Very nice design, clean, classy, pretty simple. We do have the double color contrast stitching and nice perforation in the middle. You do get a nice little greeting when you hop inside. And then taking a look around this cabin, very impressed. Really makes a strong first impression just by how nice everything looks. And then the material quality is, again, at the top end of the class, just like the previous generation. So across our upper dash, this is going to be finished with a soft touch plastic. As we move down to this lower area, we have a piano black trim, as well as this really cool vent design. I absolutely love this. You have basically one continuous vent underneath of this kind of metal shell here. Really looks fantastic, and you can control the vent directions with these little toggles here. But coming back to the materials themselves, again, more soft touch plastic through here. As we come down to our lower areas, this is going to be hard touch. However, this area with the faux carbon fiber and all this through here fits together extremely well in that typical way that we expect from Honda. Now, to start up, every single version of the Civic will have a push button start. And coming back to the unexpectedly premium cabin, this is one of those elements that really fits into that category. What you're looking at is the Civic First full digital 10.2-inch gauge cluster. This is included on just the touring trim level. The other trim levels are going to come with a half digital 7-inch display and then an analog gauge on the other side. But this one here is very nice. You have a lot of customizability and little cool details, like the fact that the little Civic does mirror exactly what you're doing. So I'm pressing on the brake, using the turn signal. As you can see, all that stuff shows up, and it also shows your lane as you drive to keep you in the center. Coming over here, on this side, you can scroll through all the typical kinds of information, but you also have some additional abilities like to customize the display. So I can go into gauge design here, go into the bar design. As you can see, it all changes, and we have a very focused look at our entertainment, which minimizes the speed and stuff like that off to the side. And furthermore, the color arrangements do change as you switch into different drive modes, like how I just switched into Sport. Now, pulling back here to the steering wheel, we do have a new steering wheel design for this Civic. It is going to be leather wrapped on the Sport trim level and above. We have the nice piano accents through there. As far as the wheel itself, it is going to be manual tilt and telescoping across all of the models. Heating is not available in the US, however, I do imagine it will continue to be offered in Canada. Okay, so let's go ahead and dig next into interior storage. Now, this is another area we've seen some pretty big changes. So if you remember the outgoing generation, it had a very unconventional but very practical center console arrangement. This has actually gone to a more traditional look this year. So we have a regular center console here. This is very large though. Opening it up, we can get rid of that, and you'll notice this has as much space as the average midsize sedan. And we'll stick our big stack of coupons in here because we got to put it to the test. Wow, very impressed. We don't even have to really fold these coupons to fit them in. So this is definitely just a touch below the Accord, actually. In front of that, we've got 2 deep cup holders, and then in the very front, we have another large storage area. This does double as a wireless phone charging pad on this top end Touring, and then we've got our traditional connections right above that. Now coming back here to the shifter, this is just a traditional style shifter. Very easy to use. You're just going to pull back to D for drive. Coming up here, if you choose the sport trim level or the Touring, that's going to get you paddle shifters on the wheel for simulated shifting. And then when we head into reverse, we do have a standard backup camera on board with active trajectory, as well as several different views that we can choose between. There's not going to be any like 360-degree option like what is offered in a couple of the rivals. Mazda 3 and Nissan Sentra is what comes to mind. And I will say the resolution is a little grainy, however it is a pretty nice overall backup camera. And then right behind that, that's where you're going to find your electronic parking brake with your brake hold. You also find your drive mode controller and the button to turn on and off your auto start stop system. Now jumping on up from that, that takes us to our climate controls. So every single Civic is going to come with an automatic climate control setup for this new generation. However, if you choose the EX or this Touring, that's going to throw in the dual zone automatic climate control setup. Operating this is very simple. We have these 3 large knobs to adjust our temperature and fan speeds. I am happy to say these are the same really nice, high quality and clicky sounding knobs that you get in the Accord, so they feel very premium. And then off to the side of that, the same 2 trim levels will come standard with the 3-stage heated seats. Okay, and now we'll move next to the audio system, where we have another big update and a Civic first. So you've got a 4-speaker sound system on the LX, the Sport and EX have 8 speakers, and then this top-end Touring comes with a 12-speaker Bose premium sound system, which is the first time we have a branded sound system in a Civic. Now let's go ahead and give that a sample right now. Yeah, so overall sound quality of this system is excellent. I'll go ahead and declare this is one of the best sounding sound systems I've ever heard in a compact sedan. Alright, so now that brings our attention next to our display here. So you're probably noticing this looks quite large, and that's because this is the upgraded display. So on the Touring only, you have a 9-inch display, which is actually the largest used in the entire Honda lineup. This is running all the latest Honda software as well, and if you choose one of the lower trim levels, that's going to come with a 7-inch display instead. Now I want to talk about a couple exclusive features for this larger display. One of those is your built-in navigation system, which I'm pulling up right now. As you can see, that's what that looks like. But more importantly, to a lot of people, I'll click into that right there. This is Android Auto, and it is running wirelessly. So if you choose the larger display, you're going to have wireless Android Auto and wireless Apple CarPlay. The smaller display will use the wired variants of both of those. Moving above that, we do have a frameless auto-dimming mirror with 3 HomeLink universal remotes on the Touring trim level. We have a sunglass holder, and we also have our controls for the power sunroof. This is actually included on both the EX and the Touring trim levels.
Civic's rear seat. Now, with this all-new model, you're not going to have any additional space, but the really good thing about that is that the Civic was already one of the most spacious offerings you could ever get in the segment. So we're still looking at 37 inches of both legroom and headroom, which, like I mentioned, does place it above the main rivals like the Toyota Corolla and, you know, above something like a Hyundai Elantra as well. So as far as behind rear seating position, I would say a solid 5 inches of rear legroom. My feet can slide up underneath the seat. So I'm really comfortable back here, and honestly, it kind of feels like a midsize sedan in this Civic's rear seat. Now, turning our attention towards the features, the Touring model is going to throw in these dual USB ports. They are charging USBs. However, you're not going to have any vents. And I do want to point out that they have eliminated the heated rear seats for the Touring Civic. And then if we drop down the central armrest, we do have cup holders inside. Now, walking up to the trunk area of the Civic, just push the button to open it up. And they have dampened it really nicely. So if you opened it via the fob, I mean, it's almost like having a power trunk. Now, as far as the space itself is, in here, you're going to have 14.8 cubic feet of space. That's actually down 0.3 cubic feet from the outgoing Civic. However, that's not going to be a large amount of space that you're going to really notice the difference. And it still does place this Civic above all the main rivals like the Elantra, the Nissan Sentra, and the Corolla. So you're going to have plenty of space for everything back here. There's a nice carpeting along the floor. If we lift it up, there is a spare tire. I do also want to point out that if you go for one of the higher end models, that's going to have 60/40 split folding rear seats. And if you go for that LX trim, it's going to fold in a single piece. Now, your passenger seat on the Touring model is actually going to be power adjusting. That's something you don't see all that common in this segment. And then if we open up the glove box, once again, it is very nicely dampened. It's not massive in size, but it is perfectly fine to fit our coupons. You wouldn't think we would leave Lexington without our coupons, and we certainly didn't, and they fit in here just fine. And then up top, we do have a sun visor with a light as well as a mirror, and we can detach and extend.
We are accelerating up to about 60 miles per hour with this all-new generation of the Civic. So as far as the powertrain situation is concerned, it's actually very similar to the outgoing generation with the same two engines. So we have the 2-liter engine on your lower two trim levels, and then on your upper two trim levels, you have the 1.5-liter turbo 4-cylinder. That's what we have today. And that's going to be making 180 horsepower, 177 pound-feet of torque. That has been revised slightly, so we are up 8 horsepower and up 15 pound-feet of torque.
It feels strong.
Yeah. This is, from driving this around for the last couple days, definitely a very spunky motor, and it feels plenty powerful in a small application like this Civic. So let's talk about the transmission. We've got a continuously variable transmission on board. There is no manual option for the sedan anymore, which is a little unfortunate. However, Honda has confirmed that upcoming hatchback model will be offered with a 6-speed manual. So if you want to shift your own, you will be able to do that in that future product. That being said, they have made some improvements to the CVT. You probably noticed one of those improvements, which is a shift simulation. So if you're heavy on the throttle, we do get a shift simulation. So that's definitely pretty nice to have that, and just gives you a little bit more of an authentic feel. But otherwise, this is a really good CVT anyways. Very responsive, especially around town. It's tuned to really give you like a nice spunky start, which makes this feel more powerful than it is.
Yeah. And I will get a sound level reading going 55. The road is quite rough, so I wouldn't expect this to be too quiet. But
yeah, it's going to throw it off a little bit, I think.
$59.5. I say subtract about 3 decibels off of that because the road is quite rough.
Right. If I'm not mistaken, the last Civic though we did on a much smoother road was above 60, right?
It was indeed.
So we can confirm this is quieter. Honda did add, sound insulation, especially with this Touring. This one has more sound insulation than the other trim levels, and just some general refinements to really help the noise, vibration, and harshness of this new generation.
Yeah, and it just rides really, really good. The seats are really comfortable. honestly, it kind of rides like a class above would.
So that was our auto start stop system engaging right there. That is something to note. It is new to both of the engines on the Civic. And we'll talk about this in just a little bit, but it does help the fuel economy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let's go ahead and get into the dynamics of this, because Mason kind of started to talk about it, but they are stellar. Frankly, the Civic has always been just right up there as with the Mazda 3 basically as the best, and this here, it's even better than before. I mean, it seems crazy that they've actually made this better, but it really just stands far apart from the appliance competitors that are mostly out there. As we go around some of the corners, you'll see just how flat it corners. Like, it's really impressive. We have driven, you know, obviously plenty of really quick and sporty cars, but how flat this is just puts a grin on your face. And you know, this is a touring Civic. Now, some of the things that Honda has done for this new generation, they have retuned the electric power steering to make that more responsive. They have also increased the torsional rigidity by 8% with this new model. Again, this was already a very rigid vehicle.
It just works.
Yeah, and just great motion control. You
Yeah.
can see how wavy and bumpy this road is, but I feel totally secure. You know, I highly doubt if I was doing this in a Corolla, I would be able to keep up this, you know, speed and feel safe. So you just look at that. I mean, there's like no body roll whatsoever. The steering is, you know, it's got a nice lightness for driving around the city, but it's really responsive, really quick, and you do have good road feel. Like, you can actually tell more than the average vehicle in this class where your wheels are placed. Basically, this is a confidence-inspiring vehicle, and this, of course, is just the regular model. You will have in the future the SI and the Type R models coming, so this just really makes us even more excited for those.
Yeah. And we could slam dunk the driving dynamics, but what we're actually going to slam dunk today is going to be the interior. The old Civic did have good driving dynamics, but we think the most improvement was probably in the inside, because we have loads of tech. Now we have the digital gauges, the new display, and just this cabin is a lot more premium. We definitely put it at the very top end of the segment in terms of the best cabins. It just has a lot of tech, a lot of luxury, and just feels very solid.
That's right, and look at these vents. These are so cool. I really like them. Now, on the airball side of things, we're going to airball the fact that we have lost just a little bit from the last generation in terms of like the heated rear seats. Those have been eliminated for this new generation. I don't know why that's the case. Also, some of the competition is offering a heated steering wheel, and I believe the Canadian model will have a heated steering wheel, but we won't have that in the US. You know, just a few things, since this
should be on the Touring.
Right,
Yes.
Since this is going for a more premium feel now, it makes me miss the premium features a little more than even the last generation.
Alrighty, and let's go ahead and talk about the fuel economy. So this Touring model is going to be coming in at 31, 38, 34 miles a gallon combined. If you go for the EX, that's going to have the best fuel economy at 36 miles a gallon combined. And then the 2-liter engines are right around that exact same range. So you're really not sacrificing anything for going for the more powerful turbo engine. Actually, in some cases, you'll be better. And that's just really good fuel economy. It's excellent. It's top of the segment to get 35, 36 miles a gallon combined.
Yeah, 42 on the highway for that EX trim.
Now, another area that I'm very impressed with would be the price, because Honda hasn't actually increased the Civic very much in terms of price, despite the extra equipment that you're getting and all of that. So we're starting at $21,700 for the LX, and then if you go for the Touring, it's going to be $28,300, which is an only $200 increase over last year. This one, when we add in the $995 destination, is going to be $29,295.
But all in all, it's really hard to find anything negative to say about this new generation of the Civic. The previous generation was out for 6 years. And as we spoke about in our last review of the Civic, even at 6 years old, it was still at the top of the class. So when they redesigned the model, we were really wondering, can they actually improve on it, or are they going to move backwards in some ways? I'm happy to say they have not moved backwards in any way that I can detect. This is really just a nice step forward that improves on all the strengths of the Civic, while also now adding like a more mature appearance, a more sophisticated cabin, and much better technology, and not even costing more. So this really is a solid and awesome Civic redesign.
Well guys, that's going to be all for this in-depth review of the all-new 2022 Honda Civic Touring. If you watched this video and found it helpful or enjoyed it, be sure to pay us back by hitting that subscribe button down below. It's completely free to you, and you're going to get notified on our most recent content, as well as YouTube Shorts and everything that we're doing. And we're going to have a lot of really cool content coming up, so you won't want to miss out on that. Once again, special thanks to Honda for taking us out to Detroit to look at this Honda Civic. And we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.